Leaders exchange words after yesterday's court ruling. Villagers say no to sand mining. And US Ambassador Erin McKee visits Northern Province.
This is National MTV News with Helen Sayre.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Saturday's news. The opposition camp in Vanimo, led by leader Belden Nama, is adamant they will walk into Parliament on December 1st. Meanwhile, responding to the opposition leader, Prime Minister James Marape said, and I quote, "They want to act like big boys and force their way to Parliament," end quote. The Prime Minister adding he would not allow any bullying tactics. The exchange of words comes following yesterday's court ruling in favour of James Marape's election as Prime Minister. The High Court's decision respected the separation of powers between the three arms of government.
It was all smiles for the Attorney General after a five-man bench ruled in favour of Prime Minister James Marape's election in May 2019, citing that the separation of powers stated clearly business of Parliament and the legislative arm would not be dictated by the courts.
Breaches of Parliament are non-justiciable, therefore it ousts the Supreme Court's power to inquire into whether or not there were breaches of compliance of standing internal procedures of Parliament. Thank you.
For opposition leader Belden Nama, the court's ruling, in his opinion, clarifies opposition claims that Parliament was adjourned to December 1st and the budget sitting was illegal. Nama arguing the legislative arm on Friday 13th adjourned Parliament to December 1st with a majority vote by the members of Parliament.
That we in Camp Vanimo, we are prepared now that the Supreme Court has made a very clear ruling that in a democratically Westminster system of government, the majority rules. And we will do the right thing by our people and by the court decision that has just come out that Camp Vanimo will prepare to go into Parliament on Tuesday, the 1st of December.
Prime Minister James Marape clear on what would happen if opposition would force their way into Parliament on Tuesday.
Group and the government will respect the decision of the court, and the matters are now before court. We're hearing rumors that they want to be strong big boys and they push their way into Parliament. If you act big boys, then big boys are also in this side. We'll act big boys too. Let's respect the process of law and allow the law to take its course.
So what is the argument? We understand the opposition camp is under the impression that the executive arm had entrenched into the legislative arm's business by getting the Speaker to recall Parliament that led to the budget being passed. If so, the courts have made it clear on where they stand. The five-man bench unanimously stating the court would not interpret process of the legislative arm, setting a precedent. Former Attorney General David Stevens, who had oversighted the case for the last 18 months, explains.
As the principal lawyer involved in the government's position when the Supreme Court reference was filed, that I knew that this was an important case that needed to be decided on behalf of the jurisdiction and the jurisprudence in constitutional law in this country.
MTV News has contacted the Speaker's office and Prime Minister's office to seek clarification on whether the executive arm of government did play a role in the recalling of Parliament on the 17th of November, but is yet to receive a response. Adelaide Sirakskari, National MTV News.
Majority of the people in Sumgil Bar LLG of Sumkar District, Madang, are against black sand mining on their beaches. A public forum was held yesterday in Tokain village by almost 25 villages that would be affected from this activity. Majority of the people expressed disappointment as they were not informed of what black sand mining is and were being steamrolled by Mineral Resources Authority into accepting it.
More than 500 men, women and children turned up at the public forum with banners demonstrating their stance on black sand mining. 38-kilometer stretch of the black sandy beaches from Murnas to Malas would be extracted, affecting more than 10,000 people, including the environment. Speaking on behalf of the women in Saran village, Elizabeth Bubu told the people gathered, future generations need their land for sustenance and livelihood. A youth rep from Saran village, Fridolin Tabel, says they won't be giving up their land easily to the mining company New Guinea Sands Limited and will fight for their land. Present at the forum as a legal advisor representing the people was former Chief Justice Sir Anol Ahmed. Sir Ahmed says New Guinea Sands Limited had filed an application to obtain an exploration license in April and is with the Director of Mining Tenements.
So application goes sit down on table on this man. And sit down long April, May, June, July, August, September 1, and we register him. Na salim pasi kamlo district blo yumi ipla ko ta sabe pinis ko ispla. No I want yumi arim pinis tam story. Notice the kamlong DA long sumkar. Making time also you got 8 days in that long 9th September long making objection.
The former Chief Justice says the wardings hearing occurred on the 23rd of September at 2 different villages with no more than 200 people attending. Sir Ahmed explained there is no separate law on sand mining in PNG, yet an application was made using the Mining Act. Following the warden hearings that took place on 23rd September, the application would be given to the Mining Advisory Council.
And in it long this law. Beyond only working warden sharing, but working technical report. Long display awareness and display warden sharing. Long body give him display technical report, long warden sharing. The neck blow man, long display warden sharing again, so 4 Hamas people. By go long Mining Advisory Council. I'm not sit down yet.
Sir Ahmed had drafted a letter to MRA asking them to hold another warden's hearing as 2 warden hearings is not enough, as more than 10,000 people live along the 38-kilometer stretch of the black sandy beaches.
You know behind him law straight. We read him law. Awareness and you know behind him law. Walk long warden's hearing. Mining Tenements Director, you're supposed to make sure all the people only by affected and impacted all must kiss him talk sawe. Awareness, free, prior, informed consent. All must have him good, now all must talk all right or no God. Then you can work in report and lawyer.
A letter was drafted recommending MRA not to present the report to the Mining Advisory Council, but defer it and go back and carry out some more meetings, so that at least majority of the people views are gauged before MRA can draft its report. However, the director of the mining tenements responded saying they had already conducted 2 warden hearings and that is enough for them.
Stanley talk no gat. By recommendation blow you plan, a reasons blow you plan, and by no gat. We plan working 2 plan enough. Now we plan by working report to go along Mining Advisory Council. Last, I still talking about, I think maybe long finish on this moon up tomorrow 30th or December by only giving report to go along Mining Advisory Council.
Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Medang.
In the meantime, Sir Arnold Ahmed has obtained the community's support to obtain an interim injunction to stop MRA from sending a report to the Mining Advisory Council. This is so MRA can go back to Sumgil Bar and carry out a number of warden hearings in more than 10 villages at least before a report is sent to the Mining Advisory Council.
Because let them go, most long people blow me pla. Evidence going no plan the man, give him talk, all right. All that bulldozing. So you stop him, na by me plak come back, give him notice 1 week, 2 weeks. Na by me summons him, talk him judge lo summons him. I need to display authority belong section 57. Mining director belong tenements. Stanley Nekitel. Managing director belong MRA. First name Mino Kliagut Supply Plasawa Joku. Managing director belong SEPA. Michael Wall. The organizers belong technical wardens. Chief warden him come working hearing ya. Summons him organ and come explain. Explain long people belong sum bilbar. Why now you know enough long come back now working more warden's hearing also only ask him you long this plan later. Mirror him response letter blame stop the phone blow me and nonsense. And give him a kind useless bureaucratic excuse. Although me black come working penis, me black in neck blow people penis. Na emina, my blog report will go to mining advisory council. Me talk emina now. You know how in neck blow. Majority of people will me black.
The U.S. ambassador to PNG, Erin McKee, visited Northern Province recently to strengthen U.S. ties at the provincial and local level. The 3-day trip allowed the ambassador to interact with the provincial government, private businesses, youth and locals on how best the United States can continue its relations with the province. Northern Province is well known for its tourist destinations as well as war relics, a reminder of the many American soldiers who lost their lives during World War II.
The ambassador's first stop on her 3-day visit was to the provincial government and the governor's office, before visiting Popondetta General Hospital. Ambassador McKee then meeting with women in SME and then to the Duvin hydropower place and then to the famous Tufi resort.
Warm hospitality has been amazing, and what I was impressed by in Oro Province was, of course, the rich biodiversity and the opportunities that are here. I also learned quite a bit about the challenges, and in working with the local partners and listening to the local leadership, identified ways that the United States can deepen our partnership and support some of the goals of the local government as well as the people here in the province, particularly in the areas of sustainable landscape management, natural resource management, good governance in the logging industry.
The ambassador the next day meeting youth representatives where discussions were held on the U.S. intention in the province.
The promise to you is that I will ensure that what we are pushing out from my embassy to the local level is transparent, equitable, and makes sense for your context. And that two-way street opportunity to make sure that as we partner and implement programs, as we stimulate economic growth, as we look at education opportunities, as we look at women's economic empowerment and gender inclusion, as we ensure good governance as part of all of this, that it's not, again, one time. And that as we are working toward, we check in. How are we doing? Are the results visible? Is what your government and my government together doing making sense? And if not, we listen and we correct course. That's what partnership is about.
The ambassador later finishing her visit at the War Memorial site in Buna Village. The ambassador is expected to visit all 22 provinces in the first months of her term. She took over from Ambassador Catherine Irwin-Gray earlier this year. Adelaide Sirax-Kari, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. The father of the medevac baby that died speaks of his heartache after walking for days to check on the health of his family. That story and more after the break. Welcome back to the news. A 25-year-old man from Tep Tep in Kabwum District, Morobe, walked for 2 days to Lae to check on the health of his pregnant wife, who was airlifted to Lae by Manolos Aviation last weekend from Tep Tep. According to the medevac patient, the baby stopped moving in her belly before the chopper arrived. The father said he was unable to see his child, who was buried the morning the father arrived in Lae.
Plan go inside, me go sleep on that bed. I'm feeling pain yet. Na baby to am noisy inside the bed me.
Firuwenu Mala was admitted to the health center in Tep Tep Kabum district. It is a 3-hour walk from the village to the station where the health center is located. The 23-year-old had been under close observation until Friday when the community health worker requested a medevac by Manolos Aviation. The helicopter company runs the Morobe Provincial Government's Mama Medevac program. According to Manolos nurses, they received the medevac request call at 8:50 a.m. on Friday. After 21 minutes with difficulties refueling from the depot, the chopper had to travel to Nadzap, where it refueled and flew to Tep Tep.
So I had to make a decision now if I go direct with my fuel here or go via Nadzap. And I decided to go via Nadzap because the information of the medical condition was that the baby was deceased already, which means I could afford the 30 minutes to actually get fuel from Nadzap and then get the woman.
Firuwenu said the baby was still moving in her belly before the chopper arrived. She said the pain was unbearable.
Baby to Lucy lives on the slab now. Na doctor to peel him. Doctor to peel him now. I'm at the doctor.
Firuwenu's husband could not get on the chopper that took his wife. After seeing his wife airlifted to Ley, he walked from Tep Tep to Ley over 2 days.
We walk about the Tep Tep station, come to the place, Kaiwang. Lab and we continue come to Wantuat, walk about that lab and come to Leron. Okay, lab mixing karna. Come down to Engau Ausik.
While the chopper was transporting the patient with a dead baby still in her belly, 8 Morobe women forcefully opened an access gate at 10 a.m. last week Friday to allow the medevac by Manolos Aviation to proceed as planned. The gates were welded shut by security guards of the provincial government business arm Morobe Sustainable Investment Limited. The blocked-off access prevented fuel trucks from entering to restock fuel for the helicopters and ambulances to medevac patients to Engau Hospital.
Please, gate must up.
The issue of the contention is a lease agreement between Morobe Provincial Government and helicopter company Manolos Aviation. According to Managing Director Elizabeth Bradshaw, the gate was closed following a court order, which is yet to be cited by Manolos Aviation. The patient was then transported by the ambulance to Engau Provincial Hospital. Mala arrived in Ley, but his child had already been buried.
Chopano, go down area, I'm taking time, lig, I'm amas flower, I'm 2 flowers, 3 flowers, I'm go out finish now. Biyan all gonna pick him all come. So just let time slap, lig, time amas flower, me plus stop them, and baby, I'm losing life and just let time.
Julie Badui, Owa, National MTV News, Ley.
The Department of Community Development, in partnership with the churches, will be hosting a women's conference on ending violence. The conference is focused on building characters of women and girls to become nation builders and change makers. It is part of the department's effort to end violence in families and communities.
The Women's Conference next Monday will see different speakers from various government agencies and church groups around the country in attendance.
And the theme is women as nation builders, women as change makers. Women can contribute a lot. We women contribute a lot in the different spheres of life, in government, in private sector, NGO, churches. And when you go right to the communities, you will note that our women are the strength of this nation.
The conference aimed also to provide awareness on ending violence within the family settings in communities across PNG. The partnership with churches to end violence comes after an agreement was signed which focused on 3 key areas. These include partnership in providing safe houses, counseling and rehabilitation, and family protection and empowerment. The same partnership also saw the White Flag campaign on men against violence held last month.
In the area of youth, women, children, and family programs. So that's the partnership. Government recognizes that churches have reach of our people. Churches and state have a common denominator, which are our people. But churches have reached them, and we acknowledge that, and we'd like to utilize that partnership with our churches.
The Secretary further highlighted the need to address violence in families and communities, adding that the department will be carrying out programs aimed at preventing violence.
This is about women and girls and upcoming generation, and we cannot continue in the next 45 years to try and fight and be reactive and address issues that are, affecting our homes. We gotta do programs that are more focused on prevention. And that's why we had the Men Against Violence campaign. Now we are having a women's conference to build our characters as women, our leadership as women. And so when we enter different arenas, you will showcase yourself as a woman leader and how you can contribute to this nation.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
The need for access to clean and safe drinking water is a concern for villages and institutions located around the PNG LNG plant site in the Central Province. And companies like New Power Limited, who are located within the vicinity of these communities, are assisting the locals as part of their community service. The company donated food rations for participants of a week-long evangelism prayer convention.
New Power Limited was established in 2017 as a power generation company jointly owned by Kumul Energy Limited and Oil Search Power Holdings Limited as equal foundation investors. New Power is an independent power producer incorporated in Papua New Guinea focused on natural gas-fueled power generation. In the last few years, since its establishment on the outskirts of Port Moresby, in an area where vital development infrastructure and services for the people are lacking greatly, the company has put in place social assistance programs to meet some essential needs. The food rations presentation to the United Church West Central Papua Region Evangelism Prayer Convention participants this week is part of the company's aim of building relationships with the neighboring communities which are heavily involved in church activities.
Because of the COVID restrictions, we have sort of deferred this program right to end. And to have it in a modest institution like Metago Theological College. This is our premier institution where we train pastors and ministers for proclamation of the word right through West Central Papua region as well as the United Church in Papua.
Now known as Metago Theological Institute, the old Bible College was operating in rundown and makeshift buildings for many years before PNG LNG project came in and opened the door for opportunities for its development, particularly in terms of infrastructure. However, this has been happening at a very slow pace. The institution is earmarked to be developed into one of the campuses under the United Church in PNG's program for establishing a university by 2022. The institution hosted the Regional Evangelism Prayer Convention this week, an important event for the United Church communities in the area or district.
Need I see is assisting in infrastructure. If their plan, as the bishop said, is to build this institution. So that's where not only New Power, but I think a lot of our other stakeholders who operate around this area, like ExxonMobil, we should be partnering to assist the institutions like this.
Metago Theological College was formerly known as Metago Bible College. Now, because of the new development that is taking place within the United Church, it's venturing into university by 2022. So we have tried to also wanted to develop our curriculum.
New Power Limited External Affairs Manager Wellington Belawa officiated at the food rations presentation and said the company's community program will assist the Theological Institute in terms of water-related infrastructure in the near future. The company has donated water tanks recently to certain communities in the area. Mr. Belawa says their community investment program includes areas of churches, sports and women empowerment. Dennis Orere, National MTV News.
Christmas came early for Lays Metro's traffic officers this afternoon, having received new furniture and 2 new computers for the section. The items donated by the Provincial Traffic Registry is a token of appreciation for the joint efforts through the year. Lays Metropolitan Commander Chris Kunyanban says the traffic section has been in need of support and help like this can go a long way. The Lays Police Traffic Office can be one of the busiest sections on bad days. This small office has up to about 15 staff who attend to daily traffic offences. But the office is run down and most of the furniture and cabinets are old. Yesterday they were given 2 new computers, 5 desks and 10 office chairs by the Provincial Traffic Registry for the continuous support given in traffic policing over the years.
I've been building any bagara big, but this is like me plan of thing some by me like a blue because it cost more big maintain necessity na. So what we like to do our administration we plan to more big furniture or more using past.
What is something you help him traffic section now, and we also help him all customers complaining the traffic officers all back up so help him do and you help him community as well. The help him community those people are doing more community.
You're at National MTV News. When we come back, we'll bring you stories making headlines overseas. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, in Australia, as bushfire season approaches, Indigenous ranger groups in the Western End are working together to start a carbon embalmment business by using early season burns to prevent wildfires. The project is expected to create jobs and improve fire management in the state.
Fire can be an unforgiving element in the Western Top End. Indigenous rangers in the community of Wadare are honing their fire management skills to fight future wildfires.
The history of this part of the Western Top End is big fires just going right across the whole land trust every year, virtually every square inch getting burnt. And so it's not good for the plants, the animals, the carbon.
Preventing big fires through early burning also earns carbon credits that can be sold on the carbon market to offset emissions from others. That's why ranger groups in the Daly River Port Keats Aboriginal Land Trust are starting up a joint carbon abatement business.
Creating more jobs for other outstations, community, like more rangers and to work at country, like get them at bush.
So them little kids, like when they're finished from school, and we'll end up teaching them.
The last hurdle is the final approval of a Section 19 land use agreement. But already funding from the Indigenous Land and Sea Corporation has allowed rangers to do early burning and count credits for the first time this last dry season.
Very conservative estimate of saving about 30,000 tonnes of emissions from the average over the last few years.
Stopping big fires also helps other industries in the Land Trust, like this bushfruit harvester.
We had a pretty rough first year. We picked about 300 kilos of fruit. And then we got burnt out. Second year we picked 4 times that amount and we got burnt out again. So fires are our biggest threat out here.
The spark of a carbon industry in the Western Top End is now alight.
Still in Australia, the price of fruits and vegetables is expected to rise in Australian supermarkets as growers struggle to find pickers. While seasonal workers from the Pacific Island have begun to arrive, farmer claims it is enough to solve the problem.
These vines are being prepped for picking and are set to fill around 800,000 cartons of table grapes this summer. But shortcuts are being made because there aren't enough hands to get the job done.
We're having to cut corners in certain blocks, so we are leaving blocks and not doing the work that we would normally do on them and getting through where we have to get that work done on certain varieties.
At Binningup in the southwest, family business Patani Produce grows carrots, potatoes, onions and broccoli year-round. While harvest is largely mechanised, the Patanis can't get enough staff to grade and process their goods in the packing shed. And the business's profits are down by about 80% because only half of its crops are being picked and processed.
Okay, so at the moment we've probably got to the point where we're looking at crops and thinking that one's too hard to pack. So on our farm, if it's a brassica, we'll rotary hoe it back in. But in a lot of cases, we will just harvest straight for cattle feed.
With less locally grown produce available to the market, it means consumers can expect to pay more at the checkout.
We think that obviously if we do run out of staff, which we certainly believe we probably will, the consequences of that are going to be that the better quality product will be focused on, which then that product is usually the one that goes offshore for export. So we will find our domestic market will be the ones that will suffer.
It's an issue that's front of mind for the state government.
We totally accept that there's a potential problem here, that we need to have the harvest picked in order for there to be fruit and vegetables on the shelves of our stores and at a reasonable price.
The state government this week confirmed 120 Vanuatuan workers will arrive in WA in the next 2 weeks to help ease the pressure, with another 160 in the pipeline. But farmers say that's just a drop in the ocean of what's needed, and there are now fears about what the long-term implications could be.
Well, yeah, it plays on our mind a lot. It keeps us up at night. Our business plan is that we should be planting 50 hectares a year. As a board, we are pulling back from that because we are extremely worried about whether we're going to have enough staff in the next year or two to be able to do that.
With no timetable for the return of international backpackers, the usual seasonal workforce for growers, it's unclear when the squeeze on farm workers will end.
In New Zealand now, a Royal Commission inquiry into the terrorist attack on Christchurch Mosque has been delivered to their Governor-General. The New Zealand government will now decide how and when to release the report, and now pressure is mounting for the finding to be made public.
On March 15, 2019, a terrorist stormed 2 Christchurch mosques, killing 51 people. 20 months on, the Royal Commission into just how that could have happened has handed its report into the Governor-General. She'll then present it to the House.
You know, at the time that we had the independent Royal Commission set up, the timing of it was completely out of our hands.
The mosque gunman pleaded guilty to the attacks and was sentenced to life in prison in August. But without a trial, frustrations are growing within the Muslim community, still waiting for answers.
You know, it's very important for the victims to be able to read and understand the report as to why this happened. I think that is one of the major questions that we still have. Did we have something lacking in our systems that couldn't prevent this from happening?
They know it will make for difficult reading, but would rather know than not.
Whatever the report has in it, it's going to provide a sense of clarity that about what has happened and why it happened, or what's in store for the community as a result of this.
It's very frustrating at the moment for the victims, for the communities at large. There are lots of people who have given their statements in the process, and we like to see that what Royal Commission have come up with.
Almost 400 people were interviewed for the inquiry, including witnesses, key agencies from both Australia and New Zealand, and Brenton Tarrant, the Australian terrorist who carried out the attack. The Prime Minister wouldn't reveal when the findings will be released.
We will try and move quickly to make sure it goes into the public domain, but we do need to make sure we go through just a bit of
a process that for now continues to keep the gunman's victims in the dark.
Trukai Sport is next. Fiddler Sukina will join you after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. The 2020 Sports Talk Rugby Union Sevens competition kicked off this morning at the Bava Park Rugby Union grounds in Port Moresby. All 24 teams from Port Moresby and outside provinces have made their way to the two-day tournament, with the final day of competition tomorrow, which will feature the Cup, Plate and Bowl final. The 2020 Sports Talk Rugby Union Sevens tournament kicked off today with teams from Madang, Ley, Rabaul, Lihir, Kimbe, Western Province and the Sepik region among teams that graced the Bava Park Rugby Union grounds. A strong showing from the Sepik side against the Fly Eagles. The Fly Eagles team from Western Province almost didn't take flight, but managed to come through in the 11th hour.
I mean, we're privileged to have all the teams, despite some struggle. Some teams have had some struggles, especially we had a blackout in Daru, and the Daru team, Fly Eagles, really struggled to fly, but we thought we missed them, and we were looking for 11th hour team, but fortunately we had them on the 11th hour, and we were so pleased, happy with them.
Most rugby union tournaments in the shorter version of the sport, the Sevens, tend to pull in outside teams from other provinces. For Sports Talk Sevens, it's an idea to promote rugby sevens talent, but they need support. Some companies have come on board to show support to rugby sevens.
We own the brand, or we own the so to say, the idea, but we need support sponsors to do this so that we can provide opportunity for talents like we're doing now. And so far, we're so fortunate to have Prima coming on board with food sausages to the teams. We had rice from Goodman Fielders, and then we had NCDC backing us up. So it is looking good in the future, and we have Puma Energy. You can see a lot of balls. They donated more than 50 balls. So, the ball cost a fortune for us. I think it's worth about 10,000 kina plus.
With a weekend of entertaining sevens, it has been competitive as well, with teams proving tough in their pools. The finals will be played tomorrow at the Bava Park here in Port Moresby.
Probably 5:30, 6 o'clock. Should be a good one. Very good teams we have. Kimbe, the Kimbe team had few very good players, some rugby league players, former Puk-Puks, and we have PC Ravens coming so hard, from Ley, trying to defend their title. So it should be a good one tomorrow.
As 2020 draws to a close, Cricket PNG closed today with a Hetura match between two local groups. The match comes under the Cricket for Good program.
Cricket for Good department hosted a Hetura match, or a friendly match, which saw over 50 children aging 6 to 15 participate at the Amani Cricket Grounds.
Today the number have gone up to 80. So we are so happy because of the inclusion of age category from 12 years to 25 years.
The friendly match is a closure to the C4G 9 weeks program conducted in the Taurama and Mahuru communities within the nation's capital.
It's just that we use cricket as a tool, and we teach more basic on the fielding, bowling and batting for category A to know more about the basic skills of cricket. And we teach them a little bit from the modified curriculum about what life skills is all about.
Some of the participants share their experiences.
Cricket, batting, bowling, fielding.
Good percentage where about making behavior good, and helping me to Sunday school something.
Example, attitude from making all explain him, me line him throughout of this.
Program coordinator Sibona says 2020 has been a successful year despite the challenges of COVID-19.
A very, very successful year 2020. Despite the COVID that came, we never gave up. The facilitators went ahead and successfully completed one of the biggest sessions at Secretariat Teachers College, and now with communities at Mahuru and Taurama.
C4G plans for a wider outreach plan come 2021.
The areas that we haven't touched in 2020 and 19, we will reach out more to them.
Kilawani, Trukai Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues with more stories after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
And welcome back to Trukai Sports. Rayleigh Kaputin, Papua New Guinea's track and field athlete and national record holder in long jump, high jump and triple jump, made a big comeback from her injuries. She participated and won in a local Queensland competition. Kaputin and her coach attended the local competition to determine whether she is ready as she prepares to qualify for the Tokyo 2021 Olympics. She did a 6.23 opener jump, resting all doubts to begin her qualifying journey. The national record is 6.50 meters, just 0.27 meters short. Rayleigh won in the opening division amongst 20 competitors. Olympic qualifying competitions are set to open next week, and Rayleigh says she is ready.
I'm back stronger, I'm back to my form, and trying to keep working hard every day to get back out there and start competing.
And to cricket abroad, Australia can wrap up the ODI series against India with a win at the SCG tomorrow after a comfortable 66-run victory in Sydney last night.
Opening partnership from Dave Warner and captain Erin Finch set the platform. Warner made 69 off 76 balls, while Finch top scored with 114. Steve Smith was back to his brilliant best with a pacey century as well, 105 runs from just 66 deliveries. Glenn Maxwell hit a quick-fire 45 from 19 balls, helping the hosts to a total of 6 for 374. In reply, Shikhar Dhawan and Mayank Agarwal rocketed India to none for 53 after 5 overs. India captain Virat Kohli was lucky to survive after Adam Zampa dropped this catch. Now, Kohli didn't last much longer, though, as the tourists crashed to 4 for 104 in the 14th over. Dhawan and Pandya were the shining lights in India's innings, making 74 and 90 respectively. Zampa's spin bowling was effective, though, finishing with figures of 4 for 54.
Yeah, I've been searching for something for a couple of months now. Unfortunately, haven't been able to find it, but it was about 3 days ago something just clicked, and I started to hit the ball where I wanted to, and everything my rhythm came back and everything came back, so I was pretty happy with that. So yeah, nice to contribute today. I thought Finchy and Davey played exceptionally well up top, just set the platform, and then we could come in and just be quite aggressive and take the game on, and yeah, fortunately it came off tonight.
Really, I think we got enough time to prepare. I don't think there are any excuses on the field when you don't pull up as a side. And I think everyone needs to show that intent on the field throughout the 50 overs. Probably the first long game that we played in a while. We've been playing T20 cricket, and that can have an effect on the guys spending more time in the field after a long time. But having said that, we've all played so much ODI cricket in the past that it's not something which we don't know how to do. So I think, yeah, the body language in the field, I think after about 25, 26 overs wasn't that great, and that was the most disappointing part. And when you don't take your chances, obviously against a quality time, they're gonna quality side, they're gonna come out there and hurt you, which is exactly what happened today.
And that story wraps up Trukai Sports. Helen will be back with the weather details for the next 24 hours. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Fine, although partly cloudy weather with possible evening thunder and light showers in Port Moresby. Mostly fine weather with evening a shower or two in Daru. Partly cloudy with a few evening showers in Kerema. Fine, partly cloudy with evening showers in Alotau and cloudy with some rain showers in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, rain showers and cloudy in Lae, thundery rain showers, then cloudy weather in Medang, Wewak and Whanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, rain showers and thunderstorms in Lorengau and Kimbe, thundery showers easing in Kavieng, a few thundery showers, then fine weather in Kokopo and Rabaul and a few showers with thunder in Buka. And in the Highlands region, partly cloudy with evening showers in Mount Hagen, a few showers, then cloudy weather in Goroka and Kondiawa, and a few thundery rain showers in Mendi and Wabek.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the way it is this Saturday, the 28th of November 2020. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.